Okay, so in this lesson, we're just going to do basic addition and subtraction of fractions. So let's say we have 2 and 4/6 plus 3 and 2/3. The first thing we always look for when we're adding and subtracting fractions are the denominators to make sure they're the same. Here's the reason why. Right now, this is in halves and this is in fourths. So this hole's cut into halves and this hole's cut into fourths. And as you can see, the sizes of the fraction pieces are different. Anytime you add and subtract a fraction, the sizes of the actual pieces need to be the same in order to add or subtract them. It's like the saying, comparing apples and oranges. You don't compare the two because they're not the same fruit. So our sizes need to be the same before we add or subtract. In order to make our sizes, our denominators rather, the same size, we have to find common multiples. Let me back up real quick, 1 second. We know that the top number of a fraction is the numerator. It's how many pieces would be shaded. And the bottom is the denominator. Sorry, I probably should have said that first. So, the denominator is how many pieces make it whole. The numerator is how many are shaded. So if this was 1/2, it takes 2 pieces to make it whole. 1 piece is shaded. If it was 2/4, it takes 4 pieces to make it whole, and 2 are shaded. So in order to make our common multiples, we need to find the least common denominators, we need to find the least common multiple. So we take the denominators, and we're going to find their multiples. 6 times 1 is 6. 3 times 1 is 3. 6 times 2 is 12. 3 times 2 is 6. So a multiple of 6 is 6 and 12, and if we kept going, 18, and so on and so forth. The multiples for 3 are 3, 6, 9, and so on and so forth. For the purposes of adding fractions, we've already found our least common multiple. Our least common multiple, which is 6 and 9. I'm making all sorts of mistakes here. So 6 and 6. It's been a long day. So my common denominator is going to become 6. Okay, our biggest rule of thumb, which we talked about in the last lesson, was what I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So we are making equivalent fractions. How did I go from 6 to 6? Well, I multiplied by 1. What I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. How did I go from 3 to 6? I multiplied by 2. What I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So these are equivalent fractions. Now that I have common denominators, I can go ahead and add. 2 plus 3 is 5. Add my numerators. 4 plus 4 is 8. I don't add my denominators because my pieces are always staying the same. So my answer is 5 and 8/6. But here I have a fraction greater than 1, meaning that I can divide my 8 divided by 6, and I can actually I can add to this whole number. Remember, numerator divided by denominator. That's all a fraction is. Top number divided by bottom number. Whether the number is larger or smaller, a fraction is still numerator divided by denominator. 6 can come out of 8 one time. Take it out. And I have 2 remaining, which is my new numerator. And again, my denominator stays the same. The biggest mistake here that my 5th graders make is they say this is their answer, but it's not. We still have this whole number that needs to be added. This here is just an equivalent fraction for this. We still have 5 to add to this whole number. So my answer is actually 6 and 2/6. So some kids are ready, and in 5th grade we don't reduce or simplify, but some students might say, wait a second, these two numbers have a 2 in common. I know I can divide 6 divided by 2 and get 3, and what I do to the bottom I can do to the top and get 1. This is sufficient in 5th grade. This is what it will lead to next year. So if your child stops here, that's fine. If your child's ready to go here, they may. Both answers would be considered acceptable.